Hello, my name is Caitlin Sprouse, and I'm the Youth Prevention Specialist at TCN Behavioral Health Family Solutions Center. Myself, along with Youth Prevention Specialist Rachel Miller, have created this resource for you during the time of the pandemic in order to educate and give coping skill ideas to help your wellness and overall mental health. This is a PowerPoint to give coping skill ideas to children, teenagers, and adults. I hope you enjoy the presentation. In this presentation, we're going to discuss about recent research and common mental health symptoms that are experienced during this season, prevention of mental health symptoms, and lastly, activities and coping skill ideas that will be provided for children, teens, and adults. So what is the research saying about mental health during this season? According to the National Alliance on Mental Health, or NAMI, the coronavirus has significantly affected mental health for everyone, but especially for those who are already experiencing mental illness or a substance use disorder. So the two common symptoms or feelings that people are experiencing right now is number one, anxiety. People are worried about contracting the virus or a loved one might contract a virus. Also, is there going to be treatment available? According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, they took a poll to see what the biggest factors were of what people are worried about. And the other two big factors that people seem to be very concerned about is finances and job loss. The second symptom people are feeling is depression, which makes sense because people are isolating themselves more, not going out as much. And then that leads to feelings of loneliness, sadness, lack of motivation to want to do things. You could have negative thoughts or negative self-talk and hopeless feelings like, will this ever end? Will there ever be a normal again? Some other mental health concerns include substance use, obsessions, and traumatic stress. Increased substance use is a risk factor due to the stress that people are under right now, and they are using substances to cope with that stress. According to the Ohio Department of Commerce Division of Liquor Control, there was a 26% increase in March alcohol sales compared to February. For obsessions, it's really easy to become hyper-focused on disease prevention and contamination during this time as well. Obsessions are basically unwanted intrusive worry that one is dirty and needs to wash, clean, or sterilize. Lastly, we have traumatic stress. Traumatic stress can be a risk factor for individuals being quarantined. So trauma basically is a psychological distressing event where something terrible happens or is life-threatening. Basically, it's an event that rocks your world. Kind of like this pandemic has for a lot of us due to it being something that we have never navigated before and has never happened. Now, what's traumatic for one person may not be traumatic for another. This pandemic could be traumatic for some. For symptoms of trauma, people can experience symptoms like heightened sense of distress, increased anxiety, panic, depression. They could be shutting down or disconnecting from other people so they don't have to show their emotions in order to protect themselves. In a survey when people were quarantined for SARS back in 2003, nearly 29% experienced traumatic stress. So there are just some risk factors that can compromise our mental health, but thankfully there will be some resources later in this presentation that can help our self-care and our wellness. With all these mental health concerns, is there a way disorders can be prevented and we can get through this? Yes, absolutely. We are a resilient bunch. Resiliency means it's the ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. In order to do that, we first need to implement self-care as well as a wellness plan that is individual to ourselves. The following slides are ideas for coping with our mental health in order to overcome and navigate the season. I hope you find something that works for you and your family. So what is holistic wellness? Holistic wellness is being able to meet our needs in order to be well in different areas of our lives, and that can include our physical needs, mental needs, emotional needs, etc. So for example, you can meet your physical needs by getting enough sleep, eating correctly, being able to exercise every day, etc. Our mental needs can be met through deep breathing and meditation, being able to talk with people and process your feelings, so on and so forth. So everybody is different in how they meet their needs, but keep in mind if one of those needs is being neglected, that can also affect other areas of our life. So it's really important that we are hitting all the parts in the holistic wellness wheel and taking care of ourselves accordingly. One important thing to keep in mind: it is okay to feel the way that you feel. You may feel scared, depressed, anxious, frustrated, whatever you might be feeling. This is something none of us have gone through before, and if you're feeling a certain way, it's okay. What we do with our feelings, that's what matters. One important thing that you can do is talk to somebody that is non-judgmental and is trustworthy. Be able to process your feelings wholeheartedly. Once you're finished processing those emotions, next it would be a good idea to find a coping strategy, whatever works for you in order to cope with those feelings, so that you can move forward in good faith that you are taking care of yourself. Keep in mind that it is good to process those feelings, however, you don't want to sit in those feelings and dwell on them all day. For the listener, just be sure to listen. You don't have to have all the answers, you just have to be an ear for somebody to talk to and be present. You can also help them come up with an idea to cope with their feelings and affirm them that they are okay and it's okay to feel the way that they feel, and they are doing a good job taking care of themselves. Here is a quick, easy chart to follow on what the speaker should do and what the listener should do. In addition to that, maybe it's a good idea to flip-flop the roles. One of you be the speaker, one of you be the listener, and then switch off so that both of you are able to process, come up with coping skills, and be encouraged. So going back to our conversation and previous slide about obsession, something that people can be overly involved in is the news. It's important to monitor your news consumption in order to not cause feelings of anxiety or despair. My recommendation is to set certain points in your day in order to consume your media. In addition to that, make sure that you are using reputable resources such as the CDC or the World Health Organization to keep updated on the virus. And then maybe watch your local news in the evening. As soon as you're done watching the news, make sure that it is turned off and you are enjoying the rest of your day. On the slide, there are some additional ideas that you can read through as well. In this slide, here are some ideas on how to stay connected with friends, family, and people you haven't seen in a while. Make an effort to stay connected and in contact with them. If you feel like you need more support, NAMI has some links, as you can see on the right-hand side. There are different online support groups to help meet your mental health needs, as well as support groups for caregivers. Here is a list of 10 practical ways to enhance your wellness and reduce stress that anyone can try and do to some capacity. However, you need to have a self-care routine that works best for you. So let's learn about the different strategies on this list. Probably one of the easiest things you can do is take deep breaths, and this can be practiced anywhere. When you take deep breaths in, your heart rate quickens slightly. As you exhale, your heart rate slows. Repeated deep breaths will naturally bring your heart rate more in sync with your breath. This leads to your brain releasing endorphins, which are chemicals that have a natural calming effect. So a technique that I teach my students in elementary school is 4-8 figure 8. So with that is you breathe in for 4 seconds through your nose, hold it, let it drop down to your stomach for 4 seconds, and then breathe out through your mouth 8 seconds. And I would say do this about 3 to 5 times and see if your stress goes down. I do try to practice what I preach and do this every morning before I start working. It actually does help quite a bit, so it just takes practice, and again, everybody is different. So just make sure that this activity meets your needs. Another strategy that we can do is challenge and identify negative thoughts. Remember, you can't always change how you feel, but you can change your thinking, and eventually, your feelings will catch up with your thinking, and it'll help you to calm down a lot quicker and easier. So what is reframing your thinking? This is a technique that helps you check whether your emotional responses and physical reactions to triggers are realistic and line up with the situation. If these thoughts do not, you can challenge them and create a new response. Sometimes the things that we're worried about are very unrealistic, or maybe it's the worst case scenario that will most likely not even happen, so you can choose not to worry about it. So what are things you can do to reframe your thinking? The first technique is the reality check. Ask and answer these questions about the situation. What am I thinking and feeling? Am I using words like never, always, worst, or best, or overemphasizing aspects of the trigger? What is the worst result that could happen, and what are the chances that it even could happen? What can I find that is positive about the situation, which I think is very important? What would be the best resolution of the situation for me? The second technique is the double standard. When something goes wrong, how do you respond to it and how do you treat yourself? The double standard asks you to treat yourself the same way you would treat a good friend. It's based on the idea that we are often harder on ourselves and are more likely to see our own situation in a negative light than we would see it for others. Ask yourself, would I say these things to a close friend who is in a similar situation? Or what would I say that would be helpful to them? The last strategy that you can use is past experience, and that is based on the idea that emotional responses and reactions sometimes mirror a past experience that had the same or similar trigger. Now, I know this is something that we've never been through before. However, maybe there's some things that you've used in the past that has helped you through stressful times that you can also use again. Recalling these experiences can assure you that most of the things you worry about happening either don't happen or don't turn out as badly as you might think. It also reminds you that if you handled strong emotions and thoughts in the past, you can successfully do it again. Ask and answer these questions. Has this trigger happened to me before? What was the trigger that time? How did I handle it? How did it work out? What can I do now to make sure I am successful again? Here is an easy to follow diagram for you to use so you can practice, insert your trigger, and answer the following techniques. So this is the physics of emotions, which is another technique that helps us to challenge our thoughts. Now we have to be very mindful of our thoughts because they can also influence the way that we feel, the way that we act, and can influence the way that we behave and turn into everyday habits. So for example, our thoughts could be, I'm going to, or a loved one's going to get COVID-19. Then that in turn turns into our emotions, and you might feel fear, worry, loneliness, might be a little bit more irritated, and then those feelings turn into actions. You argue more with your family, start to stockpile up on supplies, avoid leaving your home, so on and so forth. That unfortunately can turn into behaviors and then turn into everyday habits that are not healthy for us. So in order for us to not have those type of thoughts turn into behaviors, it stops at our thoughts. It can stop here, recognize the thoughts you are having, and change them. So instead, you can say, I'm going to do my best to protect myself and my family from COVID-19 by having good hygiene, being mindful of social distancing, and keeping myself current on reliable resources during scheduled times throughout my day. And these thoughts are going to influence your feelings. And you might say, I might feel a little worried at times, but I'm also more at peace due to making good choices. I am choosing to be grateful for these choices. Then that can turn into actions. I'm coping by spending time with my family, digitally checking in and connecting with friends, going outside, and spending time doing hobbies. And these are healthy things that you can do in order for them to turn into good behaviors. This is just a resource to use if you start to feel overwhelmed by your thoughts and feelings. You can stop and say, okay, here's what I have control over, and here's what I don't, and here's how I'm going to cope with that. So some of you parents might be asking, how can I help my kids during this time? According to Ohio licensed play therapist and licensed social worker Rebecca Hunt, kids need to play and have whatever version of normal is possible. Support, consistency, and good modeling from adults can prevent the situation from becoming traumatic. On the right, you can see the 9 mental health activities to do with your children. Some of these suggestions include worry time, so scheduling a time to talk about your feelings, and then finding a way to cope with them. We also discussed about thought challenging, that can also apply to children as well. Having structure and routine in your schedule. I also like the 3 good things, so having your child pick 3 good things that happen that day before they go to bed. So hopefully some of these suggestions will be helpful for you and something that you can try with your kiddos. Here's an additional slide on tips for parents provided by the Ohio Department of Health and Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. Some of the tips on here include, again, children look to adults for guidance, so be sure to model that behavior. But also encourage your children to ask questions and talk about their fears. Stay connected and spend some family time. Be accessible to your kids as well as providing self-care opportunities, so on and so forth. Again, hopefully there are some tips on here that you can find helpful as a parent. Being home more often, there will be times when you might notice that your kid or even yourself might be a little bit more on edge. Keep in mind, some of these feelings are easy to go to, and really when you look at the root cause of it, feelings may go deeper. So sadness may look like anger at times. You may see your kids acting out a little bit more because it's easier to be angry versus crying or showing your emotions. That's when it's important to use coping skills and try to motivate them to take care of themselves. Another thing to keep in mind is how to avoid family frustration during lockdown. Now, there might be a little bit more frustration with each other, so I really like this resource that shows how to better manage being at home with your family members. Again, structure in your day, I think, is one of the most important things you can do in order to have a schedule that incorporates a new routine. Be understanding and have time to talk with each other, as well as scheduling alone time and being in your own spaces. Show appreciation and acceptance for one another. Be sure to move your body and exercise, and do activities that help you feel productive. We talked about breathing before in a previous slide, but here are some fun ways you can teach breathing exercises to your kids. These worksheets come from the Zones of Regulation curriculum. Kids can try the 6 sides of breathing or the infinity breathing. Follow the 6 sides or the infinity sign in the air or on the worksheet. So I encourage you to print them out and have your kids try them out and even color them if they like. In addition to that, you can practice breathing by blowing bubbles, using a feather, pinwheel, Hoberman sphere, find a stuffed animal to do the breathing with, and there are tons of apps and YouTube videos that can help kids with their deep breathing. A cool guided imagery activity you can do with your kids. Imagine that you and your child are taking cookies safely out of the oven. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Smell the cookies. Are they chocolate chip, snickerdoodle, peanut butter, or whatever your child's favorite cookie is? Then, when you're ready to take one, and blow on them so that they are cool enough to eat. So I encourage you to try some of these fun ways to do deep breathing with your child. These are just some additional video resources to help you with deep breathing and imagery. Here's the Hoberman Sphere one, as well as the Go Noodle, which is a great resource for breathing and relaxation. I encourage you to follow the links in order to try them out with your child. Going back to our steps, one big thing is to get outside. There's tons of benefits for getting outside, getting in the sun that can affect our mood as well as our physical health in a positive way. According to NAMI, a growing body of research shows that time in nature or enjoying pockets of green in urban settings is good for our mental health. So getting outside during this time while incorporating social distancing procedures is very much encouraged. As it's been said several times throughout this presentation, creating a routine or schedule is highly encouraged. Schedule out your day for you and your kids while creating a workspace for you and a school space for them. During the school workday, take breaks, have a variety of activities such as time for chores or maybe being creative and having craft time or times for exercise. Write down your schedule and a to-do list for the day in order to create structure. If you are struggling to find ways to keep yourself and your family active, here are some ideas. If you are a member of the YMCA, here is a link to some videos that they have kindly put on their website for you to follow. In addition to that, a lot of instructors are transitioning to Facebook Lives, Zooms, or Skype in order to still teach their group classes virtually. In addition to that, there are some resources for your kids as well. There are dance videos by Kids Bop, Go Noodle exercises, as well as Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus has a Time for 10, which is just a quick 10-minute exercise video for kids. Number 6, eating healthy foods. Cooking can also be a good part of the self-care routine. Google some fun, healthy, and new recipes to make and have your kids help you out. Keep in mind, making fun treats with your kids is good. Just be sure to eat a well-balanced diet and limit junk food, fast food, and other sugary foods. Junk food and sugar can fuel anxiety and other symptoms. Here are some links below to get you started. Another task you can do is try to get enough sleep. According to Harvard Health, having a good sleep schedule can increase wellness and decrease mental health symptoms. So what is sleep hygiene? Sleep hygiene is maintaining a regular sleep and wake schedule, using the bedroom only to sleep, keeping the bedroom dark and noise-free, and free of distractions like computer, television, or your cell phone. You know, it is normal during this season to experience some anxiety and it can affect your sleep. Hopefully by looking at this presentation, you have found a few good self-care ideas for yourself that will in turn help promote better sleep. Another idea is to diffuse essential oils that will help with relaxation. Number 8, meditation and mindfulness. Remember, mindfulness is just being aware of the present moment, how you're feeling, and accepting those feelings without judgment. So whether you are being guided by a meditation app, prayer, or guided imagery, find ways that work best for you in order to be in the present moment. Below are some resources for guided meditation, including Headspace, which if you are a healthcare worker, they do have a free subscription for a limited time. The Calm app, Abide app, and there are also some YouTube videos with guided imagery. Here are a couple additional ideas to do with your children to incorporate mindfulness, such as a walk using your 5 senses or a scavenger hunt to search for nature in your area. And here are a couple more mindfulness activities in video form, including yoga by Cosmic Kids, which incorporates some of your kids' favorite media, such as Frozen, Moana, Pokemon, superheroes, etc., as well as a mindfulness balance activity from Go Noodle. I encourage you to check them out. Number 9, talk and engage virtually with your friends. It's important to stay connected during this pandemic, and a way to do that is through video chatting. Some of the video chatting outlets you may have heard of include Zoom, Skype, Facebook Messenger, the House Party app, FaceTime features on your cell phone, and Google Hangout. Below is a list of games and activities you can play with your friends. Lastly, be creative, do a hobby, or learn something new. It's recommended that we spend part of our day doing relaxing activities, and that includes spending time on our favorite hobbies or picking up a new one. Just don't overwhelm yourself. So draw, paint, craft, make slime, be creative, or maybe read books, practice, or maybe learn a new instrument, learn how to knit, practice photography, or what is a hobby you haven't done in a while that you would like to get back into? I also want to recognize the senior class of 2020. I'm sure this is not how you imagine your senior year to pan out. Just know it is okay to feel thankful that you're safe at home, but also disappointed that you didn't get to do the senior year activities like everyone else. I encourage you to watch this video, Dear Class of 2020. This was created by Nathan Kraft, who is a senior at the Greene County Career Center, and I also have the pleasure of knowing. And he did a great job on this video, detailing what the senior class is feeling during this time. So be sure to show them some kindness. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found some helpful ideas to incorporate in your wellness lifestyle. If you feel like you're still struggling with mental health or need somebody to talk to, we at TCN are available to you. We are available through telehealth appointments and virtual walk-ins for Greene, Champaign, Logan, and Montgomery counties. You can either follow the link to get more information on the virtual walk-ins, or you can call us at 937-376-8700. If you are ever in crisis, you can also contact us at our 24-hour crisis hotline at 937-376-8701.